All right, we're gonna run your speech, and then we'll
Hello.
go ahead and go live.
My name is Sam Teusch.
Okay.
This here is Sammy Teusch. Sammy will forever be 10 years old. We do have a law on the books for bullying, so I will let the people in this building here know, hold the schools accountable. Make sure that they are documenting bullying. It's following through with the laws that are passed and making sure that you guys are all sticking together. Republican, Democrat, whatever, it doesn't matter. This is a human issue. This is all of us. Sammy, on Saturday, May 4th, was the happiest child you'll ever see. The next day, I was cooking him breakfast, and this was the way he decided was going to be his out. Sammy was 10. What kind of stress does a 10-year-old need to have? He didn't need to have any. All he needed to worry about was where we going fishing on Sunday. We are going to do this nationwide, and we are going to protect every child in this country. Have Faith Productions is currently working on a script for Sammy's story. It will be called Forever 10. It has a huge anti-bullying message. This is what we need attention to, and this is the problem that people need to stop ignoring. Sammy will not have died in vain.
And Nexxlegacy Radio, Charles Madison Danielle Carroll here. We have Mr. Sam Teusch here with us on Nexxlegacy Radio. And Sam, thank you for taking time to spend with us as we discuss a topic that is clearly near and dear to your heart, but we should always take a moment to really pay attention to what's going on, not just with our children, but in our community, so we can be able to help a lot of children like Sammy. So thank you for taking the time to hang out with us.
Absolutely. I'm honored to be here. Thank you very much.
I want to start with not just the minute 30-second message that you publicly put out there, but Sammy's story will be told thanks to yourself and the team that's going to be working on this. So can you tell us a little bit about the early process that we're all in now in order to be able to get Sammy's story out there?
Yeah, Have Faith Production contacted me a couple months after Sammy had passed. Right at first, I told them, no, this isn't something I wanted to do. And then I watched Sons to the Grave. And, I was like, wow, these people actually put out a movie with a message. And how often does that happen these days? So, then we started talking more about, how can we do this to actually, have Sammy not only represent himself, but represent every child that's went through this and the struggles that we go through because of it. I mean, Sammy was, like I said, a happy child. I didn't have any kind of thought in my head that something like this would happen. So it was one of those things that in my mind, I thought, man, if this can happen to me and if this can happen to our family, this can happen to absolutely anyone. And then as I started researching, I started looking up other families that had been through this, and I stopped at 20 families.
Wow.
Over the past 15 years. And I'm sure there are way more than that. It's just I couldn't stomach looking at it no more. So that's when I got serious with Lynn and Sasha and Have Faith Productions. And Lynn said, well, how about if I write a script and you can read it and see what you think? So she wrote a script, and it literally took me 2 weeks to read through this script, if not longer. And it's wonderful. There's a lot of happy parts in it, and it's gut wrenching, and it's exactly the circumstances we went through. So, having it made and having it represent a child, Sammy wasn't member of any kind of group. He was just member of the 10-year-old kid club. I mean, he had lots and lots and lots of friends. He had 6 to 8 children that relentlessly and devastatingly bullied him to a point that he thought he had no escape. And he and I had been to the school and done so much, and he had told me a whole bunch of times that, Daddy, they don't listen to me, they're not listening to you. And after he was hit in the face with his iPad, it was like it stopped him from talking to me about it. Everything's fine, everything's all right. It was after he passed that I found out it had not been all right. It wasn't all right. It was continuing to go on, but he was hit in the face with that iPad, which was his own iPad that the kid took out of his hand and hit him in the face with it. And then they kicked Sammy off the bus for that. Quite shocking that there's zero tolerance against the kid that's being bullied. And I don't want to say it put him in a shell, because he would come home and still be Sammy, and we would go out and play, and we'd go fish, and we'd do our thing. But that was like, thinking about that stuff was why, yeah, it's important to do this movie. It's important to do a movie that we can get to the schools, we can get to public areas, so people can sit and watch it with their kids. And
I think
it's just a message that the world needs to hear. It's not a, like I say in the thing, it's not a Republican problem. It's not a Democrat problem. It's a world problem. It's a problem with our children and with the way that other children are being raised. We always tried to make Sammy understand that we don't understand what these kids are going through and how they're coping at their home life. So it's, and all this is depicted in Lynn's script and will be depicted on the screen.
it's going to be something that's important for, as you mentioned, for families to get together to watch. You and I are probably the same age. We probably watched a lot of after school specials in our
Absolutely.
time. But also, I'm going to scale it back a little bit before we kind of talk about just the school systems and just knowing and understanding. But doing my research on this and having the conversation with Sasha as well took me back to a place when I was a kid, when, and I was just telling this to Danielle before you came on, was, we grew up, we had a problem, AKA whatever, bullying. Either you went outside, you fought, either you won or you lost. You came back home and maybe some things was resolved. But also in, cases like with me, not so much, because my bullying came from not just the physical but the mental, because I was what they call a square. I was always in the books. People thought that was weird, and then people would talk about you because of what you either did or didn't do. So a lot of cases that take place with this, and the responses that I guess falling on deaf ears when it comes to telling other people. Can you tell the folks a little bit about how important it is for schools, parents? Because again, you and I, if we had problems, our neighbor would help us resolve it too. We had that neighborhood vibe, right? So tell the listeners how important it is, Sam, just to have the awareness and the extra ear to listen to kids when they have these kind of problems.
Well, that's the difference between the generation now and our generation. Their zero tolerance is way out of whack. I understand the kids being going through stuff, but you can't, even in this day and age, you cannot defend yourself. So this kid bullies, bullies, bullies forever and ever and ever. And then the bullied kid reacts and does something, which Sammy never did. I wish he would have, but then they're in trouble and the aggressor becomes the victim. And how does this happen? The Indiana had just enacted a bullying law, and it took Sammy's death to find out that they don't honor it. Yeah, the law's there, but what good does it do if the law's there and they're doing nothing about it? We had been into the school 20 times and talked ad nauseum about it, just completely thinking, because we had been through this before with one of our older children. We have 9 children, so we've had a kid in school for 25 solid years.
Yeah.
It's one of those things that you watch the downfall of something and it gets no better, and then a stigma's put on the kid, as far as, because Sammy was like what you're describing. Sammy was the book kid. He got great grades in school. He did his thing. His friends loved him, but the difference of maybe he dressed too nice, maybe who knows, what draws this out. But one thing that I do know is when something like this happens and Sammy literally dies from it, and they say, "Oh, no bullying, no bullying." What message does that send the bully?
Right.
That, oh, I can get away with anything. And you know as well as I do that bullying doesn't stop in school.
Mm-mm.
There's, adult bullies just the same. I've worked for them. Maybe you have also, or worked with them. And how do you get it to end? I believe that answer more than likely is going to come from the mind of a child. That it's something that we have done as like foster a culture where it's okay, because this person's different than you, to be mean to them.
Right.
And it's just not, because people of the world need to understand that we're on this ball spinning around in circles, and we're all here together, and the good Lord put us here to be humankind. We're all different, because if we weren't, it would be super boring, for one thing. And just being able to accept the fact that people aren't always going to be like you. You're not always going to have the same likes and dislikes, but in the end of it all, we just need to be kind. And being kind isn't hard, but I feel that kids that get in this situation have no control of their lives, and they find one thing that they can control, and that empowers them. And especially when something like this happens, and it's not just with Sammy, excuse me, it's a continued story of this happening in schools, and the schools saying, "Oh, we've never had reports of bullying." How can they do that? They changed Sammy's school file 2.5 months after he was gone.
Wow.
On July 18th of 2024, every page of Sammy's school file is modified to that date. Every single page, and it is straight out lies. It's trying to make Sammy into an aggressor of a kid that was 2 years older than him, a foot and a half taller than him, outweighed him by 65 pounds. And when you read this thing, it's quite shocking. So that was one of the things that I made it a point. People need to know that this is the way it is. This is a protocol set forth by, who knows if it's the U.S. Department of Education. But as I look from New Jersey to California to a lot in Texas, Florida. I've talked to people in too many states that this is the same protocol. They wiped Sammy out of Power School the day he passed. Which Power Schools where they keep their grades and where they keep everything. They emptied his desk at school, would not give us one thing of his back at all. So, you know, it was right before Mother's Day. They were in the process of making Mother's Day cards that I'm sure Nikki would love to see.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, I somehow or another, we've created this culture where people can do this to someone and then they have a person of authority say, "Oh, it's okay, you did nothing wrong." Well, what do you mean? You know, they came to Sammy's viewing the day before his funeral, took pictures of his body and sent them out to their friends with laughing emojis saying, "Look at what we did. We did it." And that is a very, very true statement that the police know, the school corporation knows, because the school counselor was the one flipping through it on his phone and looking at these pictures and these messages. And then when you read that statement, that guy says it never happened. But what that guy didn't know is the guy that was sitting there looking at the pictures with him is a military police officer from Florida who had already written statements. The funeral director from Stillinger, where Sammy's funeral service was also there and watched this. And the school corporation just doubles down. They want to destroy my family. And, you know, like I said, it's the same protocol when you look, no matter where we're at in America. So, you know, this is, and like I said, it's not only an American problem. I've been reached out from all over the world. So once Forever 10 is made, it will be, you know, translated in every single language. And it will educate, and I promise you it will save lives. Your children, your grandkids, you know, I've got 4 grandkids that I'm looking out for. And, you know, the lady that's walking in the store over there, her grandkids as well, you know, and I don't even know her. But this is something that we have to teach our children, and they need shining examples with no agenda except to save lives.
That's right.
And let people know that there are people here that care. We care about the future of you, even though we're old. You know, at least the young kids would tell us we're old.
Right.
And it the one thing is, there's enough of us that care from all walks of life too, man. It's not, you know, like I said, we're all in this together. It is our duty. It's what you're doing here is helping create a better culture. And we need that. You know, what you guys do, I appreciate more than I could ever put into words. I love you guys for it. And this is the first day that I've even met you. But I know that the battle's hard. I know that, you know, especially when you're fighting a system, because it is very much a system. I don't have one person here I'm fighting. It's a systemic problem. And it is fostered because they don't want accountability. This keeps happening. People have asked me a million times, why does this keep happening? Because there's no accountability.
Right.
And plus, if I say the word suicide, my Facebook's taken down, which it has been, completely taken down, which is also terrible because Sammy's whole life was documented on there.
Mm-hmm.
I've been kicked off of TikTok, I don't know how many times, for saying suicide awareness in tandem. So
Right.
suicide and awareness. And at least 10 times I've been booted off here because it goes against their community standards. But then my video pops off and a video pops on of somebody walking up to somebody in public and punching them in the face. And people laughing, ha, 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 ha. And that's a community standard that's accepted. So that's part of that culture that I'm talking about, that me and you working together on this is what we need to do.
Agreed. Sam Teusch is our guest on Next Legacy, and what you said is not only you know, it sends chills through me. In denial, before you ask the question, I just want to talk to Sam literally about this, because you and I, literally it could be you and I and denying the world against the media or the school system or politicians to be able to get certain things done. We've been so proactive on child trafficking and kidnapping that sometimes it falls on deaf ears. A lot of us will listen but not hear. And I
Yes.
and I think that's the problem that we have in society, because as we roll back the time for you and I when we grew up, we didn't have the pressures that I feel like Sammy had with social media and friends, and the pressure to move and go forward in a different way. Like if somebody didn't like our clothes, they laughed at us, and it stuck with us, but we slowly got past that. Here it's everything on top of everything on top of everything. Um, your fight with Republicans, Democrats, independents, whoever want to listen in regards to that, how has that journey been so far, and how have the politicians have what have they talked to you about, if they talk to you at all?
I'll tell you, I've sat down with the the good representatives from Pennsylvania. I mean, where the video that you showed in a minute ago, that was in Pennsylvania. They enacted a bowling law 2 days after we left.
Hmm.
Here in my home state of Indiana, I got home from that and I called them up after what was her name? Jeanette McClinton or McCurdy. But anyway, the congresswoman from there. And I got off the phone with her when she called me and told me that the bill's going to be passed through. This is something that usually takes 8 to 10 months, and you got this done in 2 days. So I pick up the phone and I call my representatives here in Indiana. The state house is literally 25 minutes from my house. And I said, how in the heck is it that somebody flies me to Pennsylvania and they enact a law, but you guys will do nothing? And, they called me back within 15 minutes. And I went over there and met with them. And this was August. And they sit there smiling and bobbing their head. And, oh, yeah, we agree with everything you're saying. Oh, man, what you're doing so good. And then crickets. I'm, it's about feels like they feel like they have to admit they're the bully. Or, they don't like making definitions for one thing. And I find it to be a problem that there isn't a definition of bullying for in the federal law books. There's no definition of bullying. I don't want to say it's fallen on deaf ears in Indiana, but they're sure as heck not very responsive.
I think, Sam, it's time for not just us, because I know you're putting in a ton of work, and the family is, to be able to get this out to everywhere. I just feel like as media, we need to get this out to everyone. Everyone needs to share this story, what needs to be done, because the situation all the time. Something bad happens, it'll be talked about for 5 minutes, and then
That's
it'll
right.
to whatever else. Or
And that scares the crap out of me. I've said before, I don't want even here we are a year later. Yesterday was 1 year. I don't want them to ever be like, that cute little boy with glasses.
right,
No, that's Sammy.
exactly,
You know
exactly.
that, and sometimes I get feeling like that. I hate I hate the fact that I know that we're in a TikTok generation of 15-second videos. So if you're bored with this thing, you just flip on to the next. This is something that we can't treat that way.
Mm-mm.
And like I said, it is not just about Sammy. It is the fact that when I studied this, this is happening all over, and I didn't know it. I didn't know that suicide is the second leading cause of death in children.
Right.
I had no clue. And really, why would I? Because they won't let you talk about it. And then they talk about stopping the stigma. Now that makes me sick because they're spreading the stigma.
Yep.
The stigma is spread by saying, oh, no, 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 you cannot talk about that. Why? Why? I can get on here and I can cuss anybody out and I can say mean stuff until the cows come home. And that's fine. That's
Right.
fine. And why is that? Because they think the word suicide is going to make kids kill themselves. If I would have simply had a conversation with Sammy about, man, suicide is real, suicide is forever, you don't get to hold daddy's hand no more, we don't get to go fishing no more, all these things that he never thought about because in this moment he was scared to death by a kid that told him, you go to school Monday, you're going to regret it.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think what I did to you last week was bad? This When you get to school Monday, you're going to find out what bad is. And the depressing part of that was I didn't know that happened. I didn't know that something had happened to him at school. They had stuck him in a trash can. They chased him through the breakfast room out into the hallway. That's how the older kids were getting to him, was at breakfast time and on the school bus. So just here within the past month, Greenfield, Indiana has decided that they're going to take fourth grade back to the elementary schools. And this being the same people that are saying there's no problem, there's no problem, there's no problem. And then they obviously know this is a problem.
Mm-hmm.
But then accountability don't just fall on the shoulders of the bully. Because now it's no longer the bully's fault in my mind. It's their fault
Exactly.
because they're fostering this situation. They're doing it by telling these kids. And this kid, right, the one kid that I'm talking about is a well-known bully. He's like the bad kid from A Christmas Story.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Where the whole town knows, and the kids that hang out with him so he don't beat them up.
Yeah.
No other reason. And no matter where we are at, it it can happen, and it's going on. And people have been asking me, well, what would you have done different? You know what I would have done? After 3 times that Sammy came to me and said this is going on, I would have went straight to the police station and made a police report, because then it is reported.
Mm-hmm.
Then they can't turn back around and say this never happened. But the resource officer here in Greenfield told me personally, after Sammy was hit in the face with the iPad, that this is going to the Greenfield Police Department. And then he said, okay, we got this resolved. Everything's good. And it was after Sammy's death that I found out that was all a lie. They didn't do it. They didn't say anything. So now you don't just have the school corporation trying to cover their tracks. You got their resource officer who is positioned there to protect your children. And the people that say, why didn't you take Sammy out of the school? Why don't you fix the problem?
Exactly.
Because we're regular people. We have 2 jobs. We have to do things a different way because, as we all know, everything's way more expensive.
Mm-hmm.
So, keeping them home isn't even an option because of that. And for somebody to say that instead of, okay, let's fix the issue. And it's literally, it's not an easy issue to fix, don't get me wrong.
Right.
But it's still something that we can recreate this, is what I'm trying to say. We can recreate what we have created and what we have fostered.
To just do better when it's all said and done. Like do
better.
And learn enough from each other and stop hiding behind excuses to be able to just get the work done, which is to be able to help our kids grow and be happy and be self-sufficient and teach them all that they need to learn so they can be productive in life moving forward. Denai, I know you have a question. Go ahead.
That's actually more of a statement. Okay. The problem is this. when it comes to these schools, and it's even just before school, we were just talking. I was just talking to Charles about this. The biggest problem is the fact that people think it's cute when kids hit each other. Whether it's a boy
Yeah.
hitting a girl, a girl hitting a boy, oh my God, they like you. It's that kind of thing. Or it's either it's if the opposite sex is hitting each other, then it's just they like each other. If it's two boys hitting each other, boys will be boys. That's the mentality we have to change. That boys will be boys mess. That kids will be kids stuff. That what are you complaining about? Or even when it comes to verbal abuse, that sticks and stones will break my bones, words will never hurt me. All that stuff is what needs to end. That is the problem
Yes.
now. And
Yes.
the schools have been doing this. I was doing stuff when I was in school, so I'm beyond heated because I had to go through the same mess. And thank God my mom was there because my dad was just like, well, suck it. My dad was pretty much said, suck it up. My mom's like, she's going to harm someone. I think you better fix this now. Because I've always been the tall kid. So I'm 6'2". I've been this high since I was 12. So I've always been the tall kid. My friends have always been shorter. So I've always had to protect them. Because all the little boys wanted to harass my friends because they're short, and I'm just like, what is the point of this? And
That's
the problem
right.
is these teachers do not do anything because they're hiding behind the guise of the kids will be kids. Don't worry about it. Let it go. It's gonna fix itself. It's not a big deal. Why are you focusing on that? I'm like, you do know if I snap, it's gonna be a bad situation. Like, because by the time I snapped, I was like 14. I just went all the way off. I'm like, I tried to warn y'all like 4 years ago this is coming. but
They're just not listening.
Point. They were not listening. It was just the wrong day. You know what I'm saying? But I say that to say, like, the problem is that we need to get into a society where where we check these kids at 2 and 3 when they're putting their hands on other children. Because what happens
That's
is
right.
when they're 6, it rolls up until they're 10, and that's when you have situations where you have kids that are like 10 and 11 years old, and abusing each other, and then getting like 16 years old and having abusive relationships. This has to be corrected immediately before they even get in the school.
Immediately.
And as far as
Immediately.
the school having a zero tolerance policy, what was their zero tolerance policy? Because I'm confused at this point. Like, I don't understand how.
Yeah, I am too. I am too. And I'll tell you that whole situation, like the times that Sammy was attacked, which I have pictures of. I have pictures of his choke marks around his neck that happened before this. He was kicked in the back at one time. You could see the bruise of the outline of the foot. None of that stuff is in his school report. None of it. They don't mention it. It happened on the bus. It was definitely on video. But boys will be boys. That's nothing that I've ever taught my boys. Right? It's never okay for you to put your hands on another human being unless you have to defend yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So it put a bad spot for Sammy because he wasn't scared of the kid as much as he was scared being in trouble at school. And then after he got in trouble at school, he's just like, oh man, there's no hope. There's no hope. And man, they just about make it right. You know what I mean? Like, they just about make those words right that, oh, they're not helping. Like he'd tell me, Daddy, they're not listening to me. They're not listening to you. They're not trying to help. But then after he was hit, and the resource officer told me that this is going to the Greenfield police. We're doing something about it. And then they kick Sammy off the bus anyway. We're making these things happen.
Right.
We are making these things happen. Because you have to react, just like what you said. You get to a point you have to react, but then here these people picked on you for 4 years and you beat them up, and then now you're the aggressor. You know what I mean? And that's not the way of it. That's not the way this works.
Mm-mm.
Absolutely.
None of it feels right in terms of effort, support, especially with times like this, because that was your son, but Sammy's our friend. in terms of like support and different things we need to do to like every kid. And I promise you, Sam, like I don't care if you help give birth to this child, you look out for this child, period. Make sure they are educated, make sure they are steered away from everything that is wrong so they could be right moving forward in their life. And things like this, when it comes to the school systems, everything, they are officially put on notice now. Listen, we need to add more. We could light a fire under the situation, period, but we need to just make sure that we apply pressure to further educate, give them this interview, give them everything else in terms of what we need to do to further our situation so we can be able to help people in Sammy's name moving forward. And I think that's the true mission for you, the family, for
Absolutely.
us as the community now moving forward, right, Sam?
Yes, absolutely, 100%. I mean, that was like what I was saying in the beginning, and in my mind, I was thinking, I don't want to make a stupid movie about Sammy that has no point and whatever, and then it's like, wait a minute, this is a point. This is a point where we can make Sammy represent every single child on this planet. I don't care what country they're from. I don't care what color they are. They are our children. They are who we are here for.
That's right.
And they're who that we need to show, man, the love is here.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And the love is stronger than the hate. It's like people that tell me that that I lost my train of thought. I'm sorry. You guys got me excited, and you're feeling the same thing I'm feeling as far as this is what we got to do. I don't want anybody else to know what me and my wife are feeling as far as, losing our boy. And this has happened 6 times at least since Sammy passed a year ago. And they're still letting it go on.
Right.
And why? Because the last little girl from, I think she was from Virginia. Her name was Autumn. She was also 10 years old. And what did they do to her mom? They threw her out of a school board meeting.
Wow.
Why did that happen? Because this is the society we foster. And these talking heads, people in control of this stuff that think they know better than you, and they think they know better than me, are making the stupidest choices on earth for our children, who then they don't send homework home no more. They, like their solution to Sammy getting hit in the face with his iPad was, well, we're not going to let Sammy take his iPad home anymore.
Yeah, that's backwards.
Is that even correct?
No.
And then after Sammy passes, don't you know they conveniently cannot find Sammy's iPad, which I believe probably would have had some information on there that would be valuable to us,
right,
as to how in the heck am I sitting here making pancakes for my little boy and he decides that he's going to do this? Because I was just up there. The very last words I heard him say is, I want pancakes, Daddy.
Mm-hmm.
And what happens in the mind of a child that within 10 minutes of this can make a decision that, you know what, I don't want to be here no more.
Yeah.
And I love the fact we can come together. We can talk about this. We know the problem exists, and no matter what culture it is, and I think about culture a lot because Sammy absolutely loved culture. He loved the differences in the world, and that's because he lived with us.
Right.
And I'm a traveler, and I've worked with all kinds of people, and I know that people from wherever they are great. The people that tell me, God took your child. God didn't take my child. Evil took my child.
That's right.
And this is what we are battling. This is what Forever 10 shows. When I tell you that when I read this script, it hit so close to home, it literally took me 5 days to recover.
Yeah.
So not only did it take me this long to read the script, I then had to pretty much box up and process it for days, because it's so close to what these children are going through and what the parents go through And then after the child's gone, their main focus is destroy the family. Has to be the family's fault.
Yeah.
Man, I got 9 kids. I want you to talk to all of my children and ask them what kind of mommy and daddy they had growing up, because they're cleared up to 31 years old now.
Mm-hmm.
And Sammy was our baby, and he was treated as such. So, like, man, his brothers, his sister, it's a lot harder for me to reel them back now after this has happened, that no, we're not going to attack. We're going to fix the issue. And as I've looked back over time, this has happened to parents, and their first thing is, we're going to burn the system to the ground.
Mm-hmm.
No, because you know as well as I do, there's parts of the system that are good.
Right.
So let's take those good parts and add more good parts to them.
Exactly.
Everything that's dumb and has some kind of agenda crap to it, get it out of there. Let's teach these kids math, science, social studies, English, art, the essentials, and let's teach them how to be proper human beings.
Human decency, kindness, empathy, for every all the random basic things that clearly you teach at home, but it's also important to teach it in schools in general, period. Like, I think it's important. Like, we trust the system to take care of our kid when they're off school.
That's where I went wrong.
That you have to share. And clearly the trust has been broken, and you can hide it all you want to, but it's when you have situations like this and others and other things that takes place, you have to pause for a minute and say, okay, you know what, how can as a system we do better? We are better moving forward. And Sam, what you mentioned earlier about Have Faith Productions and the importance of this movie, forever etched in stone for one. But like you said, when you read the script, when the visuals come to play, people are it's gonna tug on their heartstrings because of everything that you have gone through and everything that somebody else has gone through. You know how this has triggered me and my past traumas with being bullied and things like that too. It's gonna have that effect to everyone, and it's gonna make everyone understand that, you know what, damn it, we have to do more than this. We can't just compartmentalize bullying, period. I don't care if you have experienced it. If you're going through it now, you just want to make sure that you do right, not just in Sammy's name, but just anybody else who's going to experience anything that he had to go through, because you're absolutely right. 10 years old should be the last thing on your mind as far as,
oh my goodness,
that you have to deal with. That's crazy.
I would have never dreamed. And then, it's also the fact that they know these kids were telling Sammy what to do. They know that they were telling him how to do this. And because my very first thought is, how in the hell did he know what this even is?
Right.
Oh my gosh. I still think that. I wake up 3:00 in the morning at least 5 times a week like this just happened. I'm still not there yet to where I have fully processed it. And, then I also think about my children who they said, well, there's problems at home. Buddy, show us the problems at home, please. Because, while brothers and sisters are brothers and sisters, I'm now explaining to my children, just because you and Sammy argued over a Xbox controller one time, this isn't what he did. Just because you took the green crayon and he wanted the green crayon, this isn't what did this. That's what the chief of police in this town said to people. The chief of police. So now I have 3 more children that I'm worried to death about because an adult in a very high profile thing, leadership role, lied.
Yep.
To the public, because he said in the first that the police report's done. We've completed this. Not only that, where he put it? On Facebook. Do you think he called my house or came to my house? Nope, he posted it on Facebook like he's a 14-year-old child.
Yeah.
The same with the school superintendent here. Posted it on Facebook. Didn't call the family, didn't come see the family, posted it on Facebook.
See,
And where is that acceptable?
Sam,
Would
this
you? Oh,
this
I'm sorry.
brings this brings in an old age question where what you just said, as far as this person doing what I feel like is a lot of childish things, it brings back to probably you and I, and you and your family, me and mine's, deny you and yours. You think about you know what, there's that empathy thing that I talked about earlier, right? Where I just feel like, at the end of the day, if you're ignoring empathy, then what does that make you
Yeah.
at the end of the day?
Yeah.
And to me, I think it's a weird way to be able to be an adult and not have that, and you have the position that you have. And I don't care where you are. I don't care if you're in the highest of the high positions or the lowest of the low. You still have to have some sort of real empathy and compassion for people that you don't know. Period.
And there are people that, like the superintendent of schools, he's the main one in charge of our children while they're away from us. And his very first comment was, Sammy Teusch took his own life. There was no report of bullying. He put that on Facebook. And I'm like, what? That was the very first time that I heard there was no report of bullying. Where, what were we talking about
Yeah.
for all these times that we're in there? And then through private investigators, we found out that not only that, in the past 2 years that Sammy went to school here, there had been no reports of bullying from anyone. So everyone that I can tell anywhere in this town, that I can tell you honestly and truthfully, are private investigators, an ex FBI agent, and that's what they said. We went through their books for 2 years. They have no reports of bullying. So then I make it my point to tell everybody in this town they didn't report your bullying either.
Sam, this is gonna stretch out to everywhere that is possible in the United States and beyond. And a couple more questions with you,
All right.
and I'll make a statement later because it's something I want to tell you that I really want to stand behind. But and I know you read the script, and I know you're going to be a very, very heavy part of Forever 10. But can you tell us and the listeners and people who will be listening, just give us one either funny moment or a moment that you could just think about when it comes to Sammy, in either something that he said or did that made you laugh, 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 laugh.
Oh man, and that's one of the things that's asked me so much, and the the thought that always comes back to my mind is we're sitting in my mother-in-law's house, and it's just me and Sammy in the living room, and we were watching Thundermans, and his oldest brother Tyler walks in, and Sammy looks around the corner and hadn't seen Tyler in a little bit, and he gets this look on his face. And Tyler goes in there and whispers to his mom, I got the boys something. And the boys weren't supposed to hear this. And Sammy looking up at me, and then he stood up real quick and he was trying to be quiet because he didn't want Tyler to know he heard him. And he just goes, yes, like that. And it's as I go, it's such a simple moment that I don't know if I ever thought about until after this happened. But it was just so Sammy. It was just so in the moment, and the look on his face and the joy that you could just read through him. I absolutely love that moment. And there's a million I could go through. His favorite place in the world was Dollywood. We lived in Florida. He didn't want to ever do anything but fish. And that is great with me because all I want to do is fish as well.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I got my little fishing buddy here. Um, so, millions of times where I would spend a whole day untangling fishing lines for kids, a bunch of kids. And Sammy'd be like, Daddy, you haven't fished all day. And I said, man, I've been able to fish my whole life. I'll untangle your line 1,000,000 times if I have to. And then one day you'll be the one untangling lines.
There you go.
It's just the way it is. And you know, all of it just being there, you know. And there's so many times that I'm like, man, I wish I had more videos of he and I together and everything like that. But I wasn't videoing. You know, if anything, I would have been part of the video
Right.
because they, you know, having all these kids, if nothing else, let me be a kid for 31 years. And, you know, I'm not getting no younger, but the fact of the matter is they kept me young. They kept me better. Like every day I truthfully, you know, 15, 16 years ago or longer, I decided I'm done drinking. I'm done doing drugs. I want to be someone that my daughter will look up to and say, I want to be with a man like my daddy. And I want my sons to be able to honestly say, I want to grow up to be like my daddy. And I want to do my very best. I'm not perfect, but I want to do my very best to be proud that they're saying that, you know? And so it is the, you know, simply teaching them, man, there's all walks of life and there's so much world out there to enjoy. And all hate does is stop you.
That's right.
It stops you from being as good as you can be. And so that's something they never knew. You know what I mean? And I think that that was what was so, when we were in Florida, we never had an issue. And then we moved up here in 2022, and all of a sudden we got this big issue. And, you know, Sammy never seen anything like that. So I think more than anything, sometimes I worry that I prepared him wrong. But then as I read the good book, I know that it tells me this is the way we teach our kids, you know. This is what we are. This is what God put on this earth. And if you're wasting your time being like these other kids who are the bullies, who some of them then become chiefs of polices and school superintendents,
Yes. Yes.
and they just carry it on and have no conscience about it at all because at the end of the day, they're worried about their reputation. I wasn't out to smash that man's reputation. He lied.
Right.
The very first time I ever heard of him was the statement he made against Sammy. And it is against Sammy. It ain't against me. They're lying about a 10-year-old dead child who is not here to defend himself, and it makes me sick. And if they'll do this to Sammy, they'll do it to your child. They'll do it to your grandchildren, you know. So it's, oh, I'm sorry.
Sam, I love the memory. And you know, hey, underrated is a Thunderman. So give credit where credit's due when it comes to that. Because you have a kid, when you have a kid, my daughter and I used to watch the Thundermans all the time.
Oh, see, yeah, that was his favorite show. He loved that show.
Okay. Um, you're not in this fight alone. I know you have your family, but you are family here as well. So
Man, thank you, sir. I appreciate that.
this is something where we will continue to ignite fires in different places in order for us to be able to get this out. And Deny, before you say your goodbyes to you, I will say this. The Sammy Teusch broadcast on Nexxlegacy Radio will have a word in honor of him moving forward. Anytime I'm doing a live broadcast, I will include his name. And
Oh, thank you, man.
and not
I
just
love you.
he's now our family member, but here's another reason why this will never go away. Sammy may not be here physically, but he is here giving us the opportunity to be able to do more, be more, and provide the kind of education I feel like we all need to give to others to move it in the proper direction. So you're not taking this fight by yourself, Sam. You have others. Denia's in Chicago. I'm in California. We have a worldwide connection where we're able to at least continue this movement and move this in a further direction, to put it in people's ears, their minds and their hearts, so we can be able to get this ignited the way it needs to be. And you are now part of our family, and this is what we're going to do moving forward.
Thank you. Thank you. And hey, Denia, I want you to know that me and my wife met in Chicago there on the bridge right by the Bean.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, so it is a special place in our heart, and it's definitely one of those places that we go to and stand on that bridge and remember that moment. And I mean, we're closer than you think, and I want you guys to know I love you, and anything I can ever do to help you guys, I'm here, man. And like I said, we're all in this together.
You're doing it, Sam. You're continuing to get up every day and put this fight in motion, and I love you for it. But you can't, before Denia says something, you can't like not tell us about the story about how you and your wife met. So you met on the Bean. So who approached you first?
I'll tell you, it's a bigger story than that, because she went. You guys are gonna think it's goofy. Her dad worked for GM, right?
Okay.
And so at the time I lived in Huntington, Indiana. This is way back in the 90s, a million years ago. And they moved up there for just brief period of time. I never knew her besides that. Wow, that she's pretty, and then years later, so 2009, and when I say we got 9 kids, I had 2, she had 3, and then we had 4 together. So in 2009, she sent me a message of all things about my hair. So I don't want to hear no jokes, man, because at the time I did have some flowing locks.
Listen, you and I are
yeah, we got this.
We're fine.
And she lived in Janesville, Wisconsin. So Chicago was just about halfway, and I was like, hey, how about if we meet up in Chicago? I couldn't, she wouldn't stand still, for one thing. So I was like, just stay where you're at, because I know Chicago pretty well, so I'll find you. And she kept walking and walking and walking. And then across that bridge, she was coming one way, I was coming the other way. And I'll tell you, within 5 minutes, I grabbed her hand, and I haven't let go ever since.
There you go.
And I'm not going to let some bull crap that these talking heads say around here destroy my family.
That's right.
Because the first thing that people wanted to do was start giving her statistics. The statistics on people getting divorced after things like this happen and blah, blah, blah. Don't you listen to them.
That's right.
I'm ending statistics.
That's
suicide. Right. I want suicide to be the 2000th leading cause of death in children. It should be so unheard of, and these fools letting it be the second leading cause of death in children and just letting it go.
That's right.
And I'm telling you right now, Forever 10 will bring this to light. Yeah. It will show the world that, man, this is what's going on. This is God's honest truth. And yeah, I want you guys to know, man, I love you guys. And like I said, we ain't never met before, but this is a fight that is not an easy one. I get kicked down a lot, and it reinvigorates me to know that there are great people like you out there doing this stuff. And I tell people all the time, going through bullying, you're the future champions. And it's just like what you guys said. It's your stories that save lives because you've been there.
That's right.
How did you get out of it? How did you fight through? What are you doing now to make sure it ends? And you guys are showing it right now. This is exactly what you do. All my love, all my respect, every bit of it.
Appreciate you for that. Denia, go ahead, say your final.
First of all, thank you so much for coming on and sharing your story with us and sharing your story with the world. My question would be, what advice do you have for new teachers so that they can go against the grain of what the system has taught them?
You got another hour? Oh boy. I'm gonna tell you right now. I went. They had a bill that they were trying to pass here in Indiana. I go in there and this man is talking about how in this bill they simply wanted one camera in one classroom, and it's a special needs classroom, and it's to protect the student, it's to protect the teacher. And this big talking head, once again, of the School Corporation of Indiana says, we did the cost survey on this, and plus we know that the teachers do not want this. He said to put one camera in one classroom was like $475,000 to store all this information. And as soon as anybody hears dollars, they're done. We don't even need to hear it no more. $450,000 on our taxpayer dollars. So I got up there and I said, look, man, I work in hotels. I can tell you how much it is to run one camera, and I can tell you how much it is to store footage for 800 years if you want to, and it will never reach $400,000. I can get it all done for you under $750 right now. After this is where I'm coming with this. After this, I walk into the hallway, state capitol of Indiana, and the head of the teachers union comes up to me. And he said, I want to tell you right now, that man in there does not represent us. They are tying our hands. We are not allowed to come forward. We are not allowed to discipline children for bullying. And they tell people, if you report this, you'll ruin our scores. You'll destroy our scores. So what teachers need to do is stand up for teachers and understand that there are a lot of you who are against this. We've only had one teacher that said anything bad about us. One teacher. And she's a teacher that called Sammy an MFer in our backyard because he let the dog go. And then she said that whatever she said. But my whole thing here is the good teachers of America need to stick together, come together and be like, you know what? We're going to discipline. Because I always think back to my second grade teacher, Miss Gallahan. God rest her soul. I'm telling you one thing. If there were cell phones in 1982, you would not have seen one cell phone in that woman's room, and I promise you that. Because there was discipline. She was allowed to discipline. I ain't talking butt whoopings either. I'm talking she knew what to do, and she was able to do it. And nowadays, it's not the teachers. It's the corporation that's stopping this.
Right.
So teachers need to band together, teachers need to come forward, and teachers need to tell the truth. But at the same time, they're scared to because it's their livelihood. And then if they come forward, they're not going to have a job no more. They're scared of it. I get it. You don't want to be in trouble at school or, at work. You got to support your family. And that's what they experience. That's what I've been told from teachers. And band together, stick together, and do what is right.
Absolutely. Wow. And you said something really poignant, real quick. I'm like, I know, Matt. Oh my gosh, you said that the test scores would go down. Because I was trying to figure out, I'm like, what in the world can make these teachers even ignore this stuff? The test scores have always been the problem. That's the problem. Those standardized testing, they've been doing that for years. Those standardized testing.
The higher the scores are, the more possible money you'll get from
exactly
that state, which it's all a money play, like you mentioned, Sam. It's
and then they fool their test scores. I can tell you right now that they fix the football players' grades, they fix the people's grades so they can get through. And that ain't no lie. They do it blatantly.
Yep.
It to everyone.
Yep.
And it's sickening. It's the backwards trend of the school corporation. It's my one son Trevor. He come home from school when he was like 5 years old. He's now 30. Now he's probably 6 or 7 now.
Mm-hmm.
He's learning how to spell certain words, and they're like, "Oh no, man, cat can be spelled K-A-T." What?
Yeah.
What in the heck are you talking about?
Yeah.
Well, it sounds the same. No. Absolutely not. That's not the way we do things. And now, if you spell cat D-O-G, oh yeah, man, that's you're exactly right. Good. Here's your A, and then here's our scores going up, going up, going up.
Yep.
And definitely if they're throwing bullying in there, people aren't going to move to the community to come into their school because scores are going down. They're worrying about this. And
Exactly.
it's all to save their own face, the same way that guy's saying no reports of bullying.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're bold-faced liars, and they're allowed to, and there is no accountability to them.
Exactly.
And it's
Exactly.
sickening, man.
And
We got to change it.
And real quick, Sam, my daughter in the 4th grade, they took away cursive writing, right? So they eliminated that.
You're going to make my head explode.
It was weird to me. It was weird to me because, writing skills. I mean, I used to write letters, love letters, all that stuff back in the day, right? So for them to eliminate that, it didn't stop it from our household, but
Check this out. Check this out. You see this right here? That's and it's backwards on my phone.
Yeah.
But that's Samuel Teusch. He wrote that on the very last envelope that he lost a tooth and wrote that on his envelope to the tooth fairy in cursive.
There you
in cursive. And you know who taught him cursive?
You.
Me and my wife.
There you
That's
go.
right. That's right. Because it is an art form. It's creativity. It's they're taking all that away. The same as taking art and music out of schools. You're telling me. And one thing I'll tell you, Scarlett started going to a private school here, and it is a religious school.
Mhm.
But they got time to teach cursive. They got time to teach math 3 years ahead of what they're teaching in public schools, because my 8th grade boys can't help my 6th grade daughter with her math because she's advanced to them now.
Wow.
And that's no kidding. And they got time for gym, and they got time for music, and they got time for art.
Mm-hmm.
You see what I'm saying? They're taking everything else out, raising the price of everything, of our taxes, because they think that they give everything for free, and they're not doing it for free. They're taking it out of your property taxes.
Yep.
It's sickening, man. Like I said, you guys want me another hour to talk about the school corporation? I'm yours.
You know what? This is the beginning of dialogue, but I want this to continue to grow legs as well. So you're going to get unconditional support, and anytime you want to come back on, you are more than welcome. So on behalf of what I'm calling the Samuel Teusch broadcast on Nexxlegacy Radio, I appreciate you for taking us down this journey as far as what not just you have to do, but what we have to do in order for us to be able to get the word out. And this is you've already been fighting this fight since before the last year, and we'll continue to just give you the support you need moving forward. So I can't thank you enough for taking the time out with us, Sam. I really and truly appreciate it. And I found a new family with you guys. So, it's
absolutely.
It's a win.
Absolutely. One day we'll get together for supper, man.
Absolutely.
And I'm not even joking about any of this. You call me up at 2:00 in the morning with an idea, I will be here for you.
You know what? Same here. We need allies and moving forward to help others. And you and I and we are all advocates of the same thing. So we're going to do it together, Sam, for sure.
Thank you, sir. And we got to do everything we can to help Have Faith Productions be able to make this movie. Because,
we will get that support. Absolutely. So this is near and dear to my heart. This clearly is a mission that we're all on board with, and we're going to watch it grow.
Awesome. Thank you, guys.
Appreciate you, Sam.
All right. I'll talk to you soon.
All right.
All right.
Bye. Appreciate Sam for just giving us. Oh wow! I'm gonna end this broadcasting. Make sure y'all just continue to subscribe. I appreciate everyone who will be tuning into this. This is a very, very deep-minded situation that we're all in, and I just want everybody to continue to just not just show their support, but just be in the know with everything that is Forever 10 and everything else that comes with it. But nexxlegacy.com, deniazure.com. And I mean it when I say the Sammy Teusch broadcast on Nexxlegacy. Anything that comes up, I'll attach his name onto this broadcast, because you know, near and dear to my heart. Like seriously, it's not even a joke. It's something that I feel like we all need to do. So, Denia, I know I gave out your website, but do your thing. Give your shout outs.
Absolutely. So shout out to Teusch for coming on today. Shout out to Half Faith Productions for connecting us. Make sure you guys follow me on all social media at Danayazure, DANAYAZURE, like the Facebook page, facebook.com/Danaya Designs for You, facebook.com/Danayazure Radio, and make sure to go to the website, www.danayazure.com. Make sure to subscribe to me right here on YouTube, Danayazure.
Yeah, do that. Subscribe. And before we even log off, I will say this. This interview, oh, I'm gonna send this to places so it can grow wings. And when I say that, literally CNN, you're on the fucking clock. You're on the clock. Every other mainstream media outlet, MSNBC, C-SPAN, whatever the hell, you are on the clock. Period. Get this story out there or literally face what you're about to face in terms of you can't let a situation like this go. Yes, it fell on our lap, it knocked on our door, whatever the case may be, but if you do your goddamn homework, you're going to realize that this is way more than just what the situation happened. Also, this is not just to preserve the legacy of Sammy Teusch. This is also to help all these other people who are experiencing bullying right now at this very second, or someone who has lost their lives and their family is grieving right now. So it's vital that we let this grow. Anything, cut this show up, send it to the other outlets, do what you got to do in order for you to be able to get this out. This is very, very important to all of us, period.
Absolutely.